Hello, can we hear me? Amazing stuff. Brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going to do that every time. Okay, hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Late Show on Teacher Talk Radio with Alice Arnold. So this is only my second show that I've had the pleasure of hosting. So I'll just chat to you a little bit about myself. So I'm Alice from Hampshire, I'm 23, and I'm fairly new to the teaching profession. And I'm due to complete my NQT as a secondary history teacher at the end of next term. So only 6 weeks to go, and I am a fully fledged teacher. Okay, so I've really loved hosting this show so far, as it's given me the opportunity to chat to some really amazing professionals within the education community and learn loads and loads of nuggets of wisdom from them. You know, especially as an NQT, as a new teacher, it's so amazing to be able to talk to so many other people in the education profession and just learn loads from their, experience and wisdom. So I've got some really great guests on tonight. First off, I have got Suzanne Preston, and Suzanne is the Deputy Head of Maths and a Numeracy Coordinator for a MAT in the Northwest. And tonight we're going to be talking all things positivity in the classroom. And then second up, I have got Sophie Hudson, who is a history teacher in North London and head of Key Stage 3 history. And we're going to be chatting about, how can we make our classroom our own personal space for us as teachers? And should we allow phones in the classroom? Do phones actually have a space at all? Okay, so Suzanne, if you could call in, that would be absolutely fabulous. How are we all doing tonight, everyone? Everyone that's listening, have we had a good start to our half term? I hope we've all managed to rest a bit. Evening. Suzanne, are you able to call in at all? Yeah, my holidays are really good so far, thank you. I've just, catched up on a lot of sleep, which I hope that we, all managed to do after all of the marking that we've had to do over the last half term. That is very true, Sophie. Sophie, if you would like to ring in, we could maybe get the chat started. Hello, Sophie.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, just broke my nail. Classic.
Teacher Talk Radio. Sophie,
no problem. I know, just broke a nail.
Broken her nail.
Breaking news, teachers. Honestly, it's a sort of drama I do in my classroom, and the kids all go, "Oh, Miss, it's so sad," and I'm like, "I know, it's broken. What do I do?"
Absolutely. So we've actually spoken a lot, haven't we, sort of over last year about how we can actually make our classrooms, a positive space for us. I mean, I know you've worked a lot, especially in your NQT year, on making your classroom your sort of personal, sort of safe space, which you feel happy to go in every morning. Like, how did you, how did you go about doing that?
Honestly, it was born out of necessity, to be honest. I had to make it my safe space because I just felt like the rest of the space in my school wasn't, if that makes sense. So I think toxic is probably a too extreme a word, but my department wasn't. I got so anxious. I got so stressed. I just didn't have a very nice experience. I don't want to speak bad of anyone, but I just didn't have a very nice experience when I went into the office. So I spent my NQT year quite stressed out, and I had to figure out a way to make it so that I enjoyed coming to school. And what I kind of came to the realization to was really that in my classroom was where I was the most happy. Like in my classroom teaching, I was the happiest. And before school, after school, would be when I was stressed out. And kind of coming to probably this sort of time of my NQT year, and I'm coming to my third year now, I realised that I just needed to remove myself from the places that were stressing me out. So I just started spending more and more time in my classroom. And I found that as I was spending more and more time in my classroom, I was making it my space. And I'm very blessed that I had my own classroom anyway to start off with. And I totally get that some people don't have that. And I haven't had that this year. But I started moving things around. It sounds really cliche, but I am someone that as soon as I move into anything, like when I was at university or doing my PGCE, the first thing I do when I go into a room is into a bedroom or a space is like move everything around and make it my own and put pictures up and blah, blah, blah. And I did that in my classroom. I moved everything around. I moved things to make it so it's really simple, but there was a cabinet in front of my whiteboard. And we've never met in person, Alice, but I'm 5'2". And I could not reach the whiteboard. It's something so simple. And I could only really reach like halfway up the whiteboard. So I moved it. I was like, I don't want that there. I'm going to move it to a different part of the classroom. And I didn't like the desks the way they were, and I moved them to how I wanted them to be. And I moved a cabinet to be next to my desk. And I bought a 5-tray in tray where I could put each lesson's resources. And I put up thank you cards or Christmas cards that I'd gotten from students that year, and like next to my whiteboard where I was going to be working. And I slowly and surely got kids to do work that I then put up on the board on my like displays. And suddenly I was making this space mine, and it was different to the one that I'd entered into in September. And it wasn't overnight. And then that's like the physical thing that I first did. To just make it feel like it was my space. So and then, go.
So what you say about therapist? so you're you say you're 5'2". I'm 5'3". So like I can't reach the top of a board either. So what I've done, I've actually got a student from each class who is the designated date person to write the date on the board, because I can't even reach the top of the board. So it's my student's job. And if they forget, then
so the cabinet I had in front of the whiteboard was I'd probably say it was probably about half a metre. So writing would just be, even on the bit that wasn't the top corner, would be really difficult. It would be me leaning over. And I just was like, no, why is this here? It's getting in the way. And I found it now. I'm back in like random maths classrooms this year because we're not in our own classrooms. And once again, going, why is someone putting this cabinet in front? This is such a stupid place for a cabinet. And I'm just getting so frustrated. I'm just like, Sophie, calm down. You're all right. And I just, so it's like my physical space first was what I kind of figured out. But then I realised that, so in my first year, and we've had an issue, we always had staggered lunches. So I know loads of schools have gone to staggered lunches this year, but we actually always had them. And we got rid of them last year, and then we've had to go back to them. But I found that I had a really tough time, basically. And I know that we've talked about this, Alice. Like, I had a really tough time my first 2 years of teaching, with kind of the people around me. And I just would stay in my classroom. And it sounds really insular, but I actually found that what was bringing me down was actually some of the people that I was working with. And I found that I suddenly had my classroom was where people came to. And I was never that kid in school. I wasn't a popular kid. I wasn't anything like that. But I suddenly found like people coming to see me at lunchtime, or kids dropping in, or some of the more challenging students that found it really hard being outside at lunchtime. It sounds weird, but some of the the naughty kids that would get in trouble would come to me and say, Miss, can I come and sit in your classroom at lunchtime? And I'd go, yeah, of course, but I'll be in there if that's okay. And they're like, yeah, and they'll just sit in the back and eat their lunch. And these were some of the kids that would be getting into fights every kind of 3-4 days. And my school doesn't really have fights. But they'd be the ones getting in trouble at lunchtime, and they knew they needed to remove themselves. So my classroom became that space. And I just have a natter with them. And I then set up a lunch club where I just kind of wanted to hang out with the kids. My joy, it sounds so corny, and I don't want to be, I know that lots of people like this, but I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. I teach every single year group from 7 to 13. Every single one of them brings me something else. So I set up this lunch club last year, which just brought loads of different kids into my classroom. And it was what's in the news. It was literally just, we'd get the headlines up for that week, and we'd just talk about the news, and we talk about current affairs, and we talk about life, and we talk about, Harry and Meghan, or we talk about Greta Thunberg, or whatever was going on. And I just have all these kids, and suddenly, like, every lunchtime I'd have different kids. Even if it wasn't my lunch club, I'd have different kids in. And I came to this realization that because I enjoyed being in my classroom, kids have started to enjoy being in my classroom. And I think in my first year, I was quite tense, and I was quite kind of on edge, and, someone would snap at me in the office and I'd suddenly be overthinking it, because that's my anxiety comes out is overthinking. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, what have I done to offend that person? And because I've removed myself from that situation, my classroom, I was in such a better space, and it just rubbed off on my classroom. Like, I just loved my classroom. I'm so excited that our SLT have said that we can go back to using our own classrooms, but it was just making it mine. Like, that's what I did. I made it mine, and I tried my best to make it somewhere that I wanted to be, in there for students or other kids wanted to be. And
yeah,
it's been so hard this year because I've not had my classroom's gone. I don't even teach one lesson in my classroom this year. So I know we've talked about this, how we can replicate our classrooms when we don't have our classrooms. Like, how can that feeling of feeling safe replicate when it's not our classroom? Because that's what we talked a lot about, haven't we?
Yeah, I think, what you're saying as well about, how sometimes as an NQT, it is hard, especially when you go into a school environment for the first time. You might be working in a sort of team environment for the first time in a way which many people, don't, if they're new to the teaching profession, learning all about school politics and how.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, definitely, finding a space in which you feel comfortable in definitely is really important. So, like, thinking about what you said earlier about, celebrating people's work, that's what I do a lot in my classroom to, make it all about kids.
Display, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, to like sort of remind me, how, this is why I'm doing it. It's such a special NQT year, but this is why I'm doing it, because to celebrate the kids, to show how brilliant they are, to celebrate the progress that they are making in my class, because I am making a difference. And I think just to have that reminder to celebrate them, it's also celebrating yourself, really, isn't it? For the display. So yeah, I've got a couple of displays in my room. I've got a History Heroes board. I was also
so cute.
History teacher, so whenever they do like a good work, like a storyboard or an answer, I'll literally just take it out of my book and just pop it onto my the board. And then I've also got we do like independent homework, so I've got a incredible independent homework display as well. So it really cheers the kids up, but then it also cheers me up as well, being able to see that sort of every day. So yeah, it's really nice, to be honest, and they get so excited, like, oh yeah, I'm a history hero.
It's so cute. And my classroom's actually I don't have much display space, because one whole side of it is windows, the other side is like a glass window that it basically makes the room open so anyone that walks past can see it. And then I have a back wall, but I try my best. I kind of did quite a lot in my first year, and it's gone down the drain this year because I can see the class that's in it, the year 9 group, that have just destroyed it. But I've tried not to get too upset with them. It's really hard, because I think, we're both early careers teachers, and for me, I was one of those kids that did, played teachers when I was growing up, and did the registers with all my teddy bears and all that stuff. And
me too.
I couldn't wait to have my own classroom, and I wanted it to be everything that I made it what I wanted it to be. But it's funny this year because I feel like this year I've still had it, despite not having my own classroom, and it was tricky. I found it hard at the beginning, but it was, to me, my classroom's now an extension. My classroom's an extension of me, right?
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
When it was my own space, it was an extension of me in my own space. So I would, I am quite a tidy person relatively. My mother wouldn't say that, but a relatively tidy person, and I like everything being quite organized. So I have that, like, I'm still the teacher running around with a trolley because I keep everything in my trolley, and I turn up to a classroom and I expect the kids to be a certain way, and they know my expectations. And they might have had a crazy lesson beforehand where the teachers had different expectations, but they know what to do with me. And I'm kind of your typical, like, I feel like I take on the big sister role. Like, I'm nearly 26 and I'm still at that age where, they could be my siblings. So I'm the big sister who will scold them when they need it, but I'll also be like so proud of them when they do something amazing. And I'm not saying that other teachers don't do that. But I think it's all about that kind of, I'm going into, it's been weird because normally they're coming into my space, right? So they come in really rowdy. I'd be like, no, get out. Don't come into my classroom like that. But I'm now going into their space this year. And it's been such a different kind of, especially the year 7 and 9, in history, they've got their own classrooms. So we've been, each corridor, whatever, is a different year group. So I'm going into 7R, whatever their form is, into their space, and it's their space. It's a space that they've occupied all day, and it's a different kind of mentality and different safe space that I want to create, that I want them to know when I turn up to it, I am going into their space, but my rules apply now. So it's very different this year, and it's been a whole different ballgame, really, in terms of figuring out how to wrestle with that.
Definitely.
But for me, it's, kids need to feel safe in school, and it's finding the right way to be safe in school. And a classroom, like, I can't really remember what I was taught in school, especially year 7, 8, and 9. Like, I moved schools at the end of year 9, and I don't remember much from that first school that I went to. Like, I don't remember the actual lessons that I learned, but I remember how teachers made me feel. Like, 100%. I know the teachers that made me feel joy in their lessons. I can remember specific teachers' names. I can remember, like, specifically the teachers that made me feel anxious, the ones that made me feel stressed. But I don't remember what they taught me. And it's really weird. And I feel like that is, I don't know if that's just bad teaching, but as a teacher, I feel like that is really important, like making sure that kids feel. You don't often remember what people say, but you remember how they make you feel. And I think that's just something that as teachers we need to like remember,
I really liked your sort of quote earlier saying, that your classroom is actually just an extension of yourself. I think that is so true, regardless of whatever, space you're in classroom you're in. I think that the environment that you create is due to you and how you interact with the kids. And, one of my biggest strengths as an NQT, obviously I've got lots to work on in terms of my teaching, is, the positive environment that I create, through my enthusiasm. So many times I've been told how enthusiastic I am, enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm. If you're excited, you're passionate.
100%.
Happy about your lesson, the kids are probably going to be a bit excited about it as well.
I had that at a parents' evening, actually. One of my year 9 dads, he was like, "Oh, I'm just so glad that, you can just see how much you love history." And I was like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, like, why wouldn't you love it? It's the best subject. But yeah, and I think that's what I saw a post, I think it was actually Tom Rogers, about teaching Key Stage 3 versus teaching kind of other years. And I teach every year group. So this year is it's my first year teaching everyone through to year 13. And I love it. Like, someone asked me, my trainee yesterday asked me, if I could only teach one key stage, what would it be? And I said I wouldn't choose. Like, I genuinely like teaching all of them.
Yeah.
But with Key Stage 3, you are performing. Like, way more than, and I love it. I genuinely love it, but it's exhausting, isn't it? You kind of have to, like, I can't remember what I was teaching the other day. I was doing, was it the Civil War or Cromwell or something like that? And
the English Civil War was my favourite. So
you know what? I do like it, but I'm like, I was doing like a bridging lesson basically from the Tudors to it, and because I had to cut the Cromwell topic basically because we're so far behind because of COVID. So I kind of had to like shorten what is normally like 8 lessons into like 2 or 3. And so I'm trying to still make the context. And I'm there like basically just like, yes, then this. And then I'm like telling a narrative and telling a story and I'm performing. And the kids are like, and I left it and I was like, oh my gosh. And I used to love going. I used to go from year 7 to year 11 and just across the corridor. And then I loved my year 11s. And I would love, because I couldn't sit back a bit, but I was there, you know, really getting into the depths of certain things. But my classroom changed as well. Like my classroom for year 7s was me, you know, jumping around, well, not jumping around, but like walking around. Whereas with my, you know, 11s and above, my year 12s, I'm sat down. I'm like, no, they're not getting me stood up. I'm sorry. What is that?
Do you think that's perhaps something, you know, lots of teachers maybe shy away from, you know, going into lots of depth with year 7 and thinking they do just need to perform? Because my year 7s, you know, I make sure that I massively, you know, challenge them. And, you know, if you have the high expectations from 7 to 11.
I don't like, yeah, my expectations, I sometimes say to my trainee, I was like, yeah, I know I could be pretty savage. And I can be because I'm not going to, you know, they're not going to talk over me. I'm sorry. Like, I've got non-negotiables.
Exactly.
And, you know, there's been times when my trainees teaching and I've had to say to my trainee, it's like, I remember in my NQT year, my old head of history saying, we had a parents' evening and we shared a class and there was a girl who was one of the naughty girls. And afterwards I said, oh yeah, so, you know, I'm going to call her Sally. Sally, I was like, oh, Sally came to see me. She said that you were busy when she had her appointment. And he said something like, oh yeah, like, of course you coming to see you. You're soft. I was like, okay. I was like, you've never seen me teach, but fine. And I mentioned it to my trainee the other day, and he was like, what? He was like, has he seen you teach? And like with me, like the kids will come up to me and like tell me everything, and you know, I will pander to their drama, and I will make their drama because to them it's the biggest deal that their friends stop talking to them because they ate their chocolate. Like that's a big deal to them at the time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So like, and you know, year nine's breaking up with each other left, right, and centre this week, and I'm like, you know what, girl, you need to just go in there and be a strong, independent woman. Who matters if Riley broke up with you? You go and tell them, you answer all those questions, and they do it. They just need someone to rant for 10 seconds, and they sort it out. But in a lesson, like, you know, I will give cautions, warnings, detentions. Like I will, you know, call home. I'm not going to let things slide. And I think with me, it's like the classroom. I need to know what to expect, right? And students need to know what to expect. I think the worst thing I found in school was when I had teachers that would play along with all the banter. They'd do all the banter. They'd be like, oh, yeah. And then suddenly something would switch. And then they'd go like, that is ban out of order, get out. And it's like, okay, well, you've allowed that to happen. Like, how do we know where the line is? And like, for me, my students, they know where the line is. They know, you know, there's certain times they'll always have an opportunity to chat in lesson. They'll always have an opportunity to do this. But when this is happening, that is, I think there's very clear expectations in my classroom. And I think that's also making a safe space. If you've got clear rules, clear expectations, and I follow the school policy, and every school's got a different policy. But you know, my trainee had a lesson the other day that the behaviour was a bit bad, and I said to him, I was like, you've not used the arsenal at your disposal. You've gone to battle without using any of your weapons. You've not used any of the behaviour policy. You've not used the school systems. Kind of, the kids know that those systems are there. So if that kid continues to talk over you, you give them a warning. That's what it's there for. That's a reminder to them that they've done something that is not like fulfilling your expectations. And you know, I'm a rule follower, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I love rules. Like rules, rules are there for me to follow. Like I am not of the like I was a kid in school that never got detention. Like I like rules, and you know, when rules, I found it harder and harder as I've become like a professional. I'm like, well, that rule's stupid. How do I manage with the rules that I don't get? But I don't know. The classroom just has to be somewhere that they know what's going to happen, or it's flawed. Really,
definitely. And I think that also, you know, what you're saying about being called soft, you know, I'm sure I could probably, you know, fall into that category of being called a soft teacher. But, you know, what's the difference between actually being a soft teacher and being a compassionate, understanding, you know, teacher who encourages the children but also has boundaries, you know?
And that's the opposite. I think that's the exact word that I would say, that I'm not a soft teacher, I'm a compassionate teacher. So
yeah, absolutely.
If someone is going through a tough time, I'm often I don't want to blow my own trumpet because I'm not perfect by any means. Like, you know, I've got my subject knowledge is by far has got a lot to go. I think David Cunningham, the majority of students don't love rules. I think, I completely agree with you what you're saying, but for me, it depends. I think it's the same mentality that I said, that rules, it depends what the rules are. And I think this is where we could go on to talking about phones. It just depends. For me, if a rule is, you know, you don't talk, and I will often say to kids, I was like, you know, you're talking over Jess. That's, you know, you're not being very respectful for Jess is trying to say. And it's not going, do not talk. It's going, you're being you're being disrespectful right now. Like, can you like, if you were talking, that would be very nice. And for me, it's like, I will never give out a warning without explaining what it's for. It's like being firm but fair, like, so be it said. I think, you know, some rules I'm quite laxed on, and the kids also know that. So, you know, I can't think of an example of one that I'm more lax on. Okay, so for example, uniform. You know, if I'm walking past a kid and their shirt's completely out, I'm going to ask them to tuck it in. Chewing gum at my school, you're meant to get a detention, right? You're meant to get a detention. I don't love chewing gum. I was raised by a mother who never let me have chewing gum. But, you know, I can understand kids have had lunch, they might put some gum in their mouth, but I don't want them to have it in my lesson. I don't want them to chew in my lesson. So if I see a kid chewing gum, I'll say, Daniel, are you, yes, me out? And I'm like, put it in the bin. And then I say, if anyone else has got gum in their mouth, you put it in now. If I catch you after this, then you will get a detention. And I'll say that to them. And I'll say, you know, you've got the chance, and you know I will catch you because I always catch you. And I will say, and I'll give them that chance, and I'll say, you know, I'm giving you the chance now to put it in the bin, because I think it's a little bit extreme that they get a detention for chewing gum personally. But I will follow the school system. So I'll say, you know, put it, you know, I'm giving you the chance now to be respectful and put it in the bin. But if I see you after this, then you've lied to me. So I guess I'm not following the school rules per se, but do you find it easy to be consistent every lesson? How does your whole school behaviour policy fit in? Do you always agree? I think I just told you I don't agree always with the school behaviour policy. On the whole, though, my school is, I think it is compassionate. It is a school that leads by relationship building. I don't think I could work at every school when I see some of the kind of situations that they have. And I think what I find it harder is when I think sometimes I'm not consistent, to be honest, because there's some kids that I have to be, in some classes that I have to probably be more, I'm going to say savage because it's a nice way to put it. I have to be more savage or more strict with.
It's all about context, really, isn't it? You know, what you were talking about earlier, you know, talking about, you know, telling people's off for, you know, shouting it out, the way in which I do it. I think it's all about how you sort of approach it. I do it in a really sort of light manner, and I make a joke of it. I go, you know, no shouty outies, and they find it hilarious, but then they don't shout out. So, you know, it's all about
it really depends the context, though. I'm not going to lie to you. On Friday, I do not shout very often, but I shouted on Friday period 5. And yeah, I really don't shout very often. I've got an ability to sound like my trainee says, I've got a tone of voice that can make people shake, and I don't need to shout often.
My tone.
But this class, so I had to scream at them and screaming is probably extreme. I had to properly raise my voice because I walked into the classroom and 4 students said to me, so I often get on the last day of term, Miss, we're going to have a fun lesson. And I go, every lesson's a fun lesson.
Absolutely.
But I had 4 kids say to me, we better be having a fun lesson today, Miss. We better be having. And I got down and said, if one tells me they better be, I was like, who do you, and I was like, I properly went into them and I was like, who do you think you are saying you better be getting something? Like, my kids are very entitled, if I'm not going to lie to you. And they probably watch movies all day. And it's do watch movies on the last day of half term anyway. But I was like, you do not demand anything from me. I am the teacher. If I want to give you a lesson that is more creative, I will do that. If I don't, you're not going to force me to do anything. And I said to him, I was like, how have I gone from such a lovely year 7 class where I've just had the most wonderful time, and in 10 seconds, you've altered my mood just like that? And they felt really bad. And I think sometimes
it is
you
about
have to be like that.
You're
And,
human as well, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think, and that's what I mean, like, Sabia's comment about being consistent. I think I'm consistent with my expectations, right? So my expectations are the same. You're going to be polite, you're going to be respectful of everyone in the classroom, you're going to put as much effort as you can in. Everyone's going to try their best, and that's my expectations. How I have to deal with that is different though, right? So I might have a class who, my year 11 class, for example, that have just left were gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I didn't really need to do any work with them. They just did it. I never had to, I don't think I've ever had to give a warning to any single one in that class, and I've taught them for 3 years. Whereas my year 10 class, I have got a whole different ball game. I've had students on head teachers report. Like, I've got a really challenging year 10 class. My expectations are exactly the same, but how I have to get them to those expectations is very different. And I think that's where with that year 10 class, I've had to really dig into the behaviour policy of the school and figure out, like, where do I go to when these kids are doing X, Y, Z, and I've got, kids that are just outwardly rude and not doing any work. Like, how do I deal with that? And that was a real challenge for me. And I think my expectations didn't change, right? My expectations were consistent, but how I dealt with it has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sophie. We're going to have the Pop TV news now. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting, Sophie.
No problem.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Tom Hopkins-Burke.
This is Tom Hopkins-Burke with your weekend Teachers Talk Radio News. A Schools Week investigation has claimed that founding employees of Oak National Academy were in line to receive £41 million under their preferred proposal for the future of the online school. The proposal would have given Oak bosses 80% of shares into a private company before it was withdrawn, having been deemed unworkable. The document, Oak 3.0 Proposal, was submitted to the Reach Foundation, which runs Oak, by Oak's principal Matthew Hood OBE. In response to Schools Week's story, Hood tweeted that he insisted that every option that included employee ownership models explicitly excluded himself from them. The National Association of Head Teachers says that more school bubbles are self-isolating amid concerns over a new variant of COVID. Paul Whiteman, General Secretary of the NAHT, said that the union was picking up more reports of schools having to close multiple classes. Earlier this week, the government announced that 4,000 pupils missed school last Thursday, having tested positive for COVID-19. Furthermore, the number of students self-isolating following potential close contact with a positive case jumped from 65,000 on the 12th of May to 88,000 on the 20th of May. A petition calling for a teacher to be reinstated following his suspension for allegedly raising health and safety concerns has reached almost 1,000 signatures. Tom Mitchell, a teacher at Taverham High School in East Anglia, was suspended earlier this month following 16 years at the school. In November 2020, he was reported to have raised concerns to the school and his union about COVID health and safety measures not being followed, including ventilation and safety within bubbles. A spokesperson from the school said that the school had followed all public health guidance. That was your weekend education news with Tom Hopkins-Burke.
Introducing Amanda Davey. Amanda is one of the first specialist teacher assessors for dyscalculia in the UK and offers dyscalculia tutoring and bespoke training for schools. With 26 years of teaching and tutoring experience in the UK, Amanda offers specialist online tuition focused on building confidence and developing skills. Amanda also offers online and face-to-face training on dyscalculia for educators, informing practitioners as to how to identify children that may have dyscalculia and how to support them in class. Find out more about Amanda and what she can offer you at www.amanda-davey-dyscalculia.co.uk.
Susie, are you able to call in, please? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties earlier. I felt like online teaching all over again.
It was very much like that first Teams lesson going, oh my gosh, what button do I push? But I pushed. All the kids. Yeah, I can't join the call, miss. What are you saying? Can you hear her? I can't see the screen. A lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll just reintroduce you again quickly. So this is Suzanne Preston. Suzanne is the Deputy Head of Maths and a Numeracy Coordinator for a MAT in the Northwest. And tonight we're talking about all things positivity in the classroom. So obviously I put a tweet out being like, can anyone have a chat with me about, how we can be really positive as teachers and the impact that this has on our classes. And somebody tweeted me saying, Suzanne is the most positive teacher and enthusiastic teacher that I know and works wonders. So,
oh my gosh, who said that?
I can't remember, but that was how you got in contact with me. So I'm really looking forward to chatting to you tonight. How do you create a positive classroom environment?
A few different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I know I was listening earlier on to what yourself and Sophie were saying, and it is difficult not having your own classroom. And that was something I kind of liked before I had a space. And so listening to yourself and Sophie, I'm at a slightly different stage in my career. I'm a bit older than both of you. I'm a mum of 3 kids as well, so I don't have the big sister. I'm very much. I do the mum look. I'm really good. I can do the mum look and the mum voice. So the kids say that, the students say that, but just quite positive, which sometimes goes really well. I do remember.
Yeah.
Year 9 students saying to me, Miss, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. No one should be this excited about algebra.
Yeah.
But I tend to be, I don't like, it's so simple. I don't like being unhappy, so I tend to choose not to be.
Yeah.
Really that simple. And I love what I do. I love teaching my subject. I know I'm a maths teacher, but I love it. And I have literally gone, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so excited. We're going to do certs today.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm exactly the same. And in a lot of my kitty observations, I've been, noted for how enthusiastic I am. And you know what? It rubs off on the kids because if you're excited about your lesson, if I'm so excited, teaching them about Elizabeth's, religious settlement, which, is a slightly dry topic for,
No, English history, right? You can probably tell by the accent I'm not a native English person. English history is so cool compared. It's fabulous. It's just full of people having wars and taking over. Irish history, as I learned to school, was all so. We got invaded by the Vikings and it took over. And then we got invaded by the Normans. And then we got invaded by the English. And then when they were distracted fighting a world war, we just snuck in and got our independence then. That's literally Irish history, like in a nutshell. We can do it in like 10 minutes. It's just who invaded us this time. Oh, and by the way, we all hate the English. 800-year holiday they came for.
Well, we're uniting tonight, so to talk about positivity.
But yeah, no, I'd love to have done English history, but yeah, growing up in an Irish Catholic school, it was just very much no. That heathen Henry VIII setting up his own church.
So do you think a way of being positive sort of about our subjects as well is actually talking to the kids about how the fact that it is actually useful, we are actually doing it for a reason. Because I imagine in stuff like maths, when you are looking at stuff like algebra, the kids might say, but why is it relevant to
Oh
my
yeah,
life?
when am I going to use Pythagoras theorem in my life?
Yeah.
And they have now learned not to ask me that, because I will trot out 6 examples.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, yeah. And sometimes I will be honest and say, look, probably never. But do you know what? You will use it to pass your GCSE, because you were going to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to let a lack of a maths GCSE get in your way, are you? Of course not. You're smart enough to do this. Come on, let's go. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So it will. I mean, there are some aspects of GCSE maths, especially with higher, that, yeah, it's unlikely unless you do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, even if you never use it afterwards, that's fine. You're going to understand it for your exam. And you're going to get your grade 6, you're going to get your grade 7, or whatever it is you need to get, because what do you want to be? Fantastic. You don't want to resit maths in college, do you? God, no, miss. I won't be insulted by that. Thank you.
You know what? I really like what you just said there, about, you're smart, you're fantastic, because I think that, nowadays, I think that it's a really challenging sort of world that these, teenagers growing up in, constantly having to compare themselves to others and, potential challenges they might face, especially with Corona. So I think that actually reminding them they can do well, that you do believe in them, that they are smart, if they work their hardest, they're going to do well, they're going to be fantastic. I think that having that positive mental attitude definitely rubs off on them a lot.
Well, I'm having I'm in my 5th, 6th year teaching. Well, yeah, 5th to 6th year, and I said I took over year 11 class when we had a bit of a shuffling department, and I was a former year 11 teacher, and I got so many lovely cards. And I've just, a few of them, I'm just kind of looking here. One of them just said, there's 2 that made me laugh. Thank you, Mrs. Preston. Thank you for always helping me and support me along my journey. You've helped me so much morally and academically.
Aww.
I will never use y equals mx plus c in real life, but I will use the life lessons you've taught me.
Oh wow. Yeah, you know what? I think that shows us, doesn't it, that we actually have such a massive impact on them, not even just in terms of, the subject that we teach them, but in terms of, how we are and the lessons that we teach them. And I like to think that I hopefully teach my pupils that actually, it is all just about trying and doing your best. And if you do your best, then you can succeed.
Well, I have a few, and I think I'm very passionate about. Absolutely feminist. But I'm saying that I'm a feminist as in that I don't believe there's one's better than the other.
Absolutely.
I hate the phrase man up. I don't believe in toxic masculinity. I have a son, I have 2 daughters. And but I'm always kind of like big into, because I have a year 11 form, so I'm kind of like, it's your body, it's your choice. No one gets to do anything with yourself. And I'm really, really, really enthusiastic about that. And I said, I don't know if it's a thing, but all the cards I got were from girls. And everyone had just kind of said, thank you for believing in me, thank you for inspiring me, thank you for this. And I was like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always about teaching in the classroom.
No,
it was about
it's not,
other things as well. No, a couple of things. I think about being positive. A, I do love my subject. That's a big one. B, I love my job. I love my job. I'm very honest about, they'll ask me, and I'll say I changed careers to be a teacher. I changed careers when I was 30. I emigrated over from Ireland. I worked as a teaching assistant and a HLTA, then an intervention before I went to because I'm crazy, I went to did a PGC with a 1-year-old while pregnant.
Oh, wow. I salute you.
So I don't know what I'm thinking.
Well, you know what? You sound like a superwoman, so.
Oh, no. So, and they kind of say, do you know, I'm like, why on earth? Like, I choose every single day to come into this school. I don't have to do it. Every day I choose to come in and I choose to be with you. You're fantastic. And I think that comes across that I want to be here. I like my job.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this job. I'm educated. I'm quite, I've got degrees. I've got a few of them actually. I was the nerd kid in school. I mean, I still am. I'm the nerd teacher.
Me too.
I was the nerd kid in school, and I've like I've 3 degrees, so I love learning.
Oh, wow.
So I'll say this, I'm like, I don't have to do this. I mean, I'm not in it for the money. Good God, no.
I don't think any of us are.
No, I love getting to spend time with teenagers and getting to see you grow and get to, be part of your lives. And I just think
Yeah.
that's, I think, a big thing that helps.
Yeah, I
And
think it is so important, isn't it, to make them see that we do actually value them, and that they can also teach us lessons as well. For
yeah,
example, this sounds really silly, but I'm 23, but I'm rubbish at using technology, and I've had this visualizer all year, and I can barely figure out how to use it. And it took my year 7s to actually be like, oh, miss, press that button, that will change it around, like press that button, it will do exposure, so I can finally use a visualizer now. But it's because they taught me.
well, I got taught by my year 11s the difference between TikToks and Vines.
Oh.
Why they're not the same thing, miss. and how to highlight and things about like, and girls are like, all right, so miss, you've got to do the poses and you've got to do this. No, we don't do that, miss. That's like so 2000s. So I get told things like that. But I think some of it is that bit being approachable. One of the things I really missed this last year. I set up when I interviewed at the school I'm at now. The head teacher said to me, "What else can you do?" At the interview, and I was like, "Well, I could teach. Like, I'm qualified to teach more than one subject. I'm qualified to teach science as well as maths." And he went, "No, extracurricular." It was like, "Oh God, I really want this job." So I was just kind of like, "Well," I was like, "I'm a really big sci-fi fan," and he went, "Oh, that'd be great to set up a club." And I was like, "Of course I will," because you're at an interview, and you're like, "Yeah." So got the job, and September, about 3 weeks in, he's like, "Hi, Mrs. Preston, how are you settling in? When are you starting that club up?" And in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh God, that was a real thing." And out loud, I went, "This week, of course."
Yeah, of course.
I set up this. What was funny stories? But set up what was a gaming sci-fi fantasy club, which became, as we're running, it's in its third year, and became very quickly affectionately known as the Cult of Nerds, because the kids picked the names out themselves. And I used to run it on a Friday after school. I used to have between 30 and 40 kids rock up every Friday for an hour after school. And it was fantastic. We had LGBT kids there. Like, we had a couple that, like, they were a couple in my club before they were comfortable being a couple in school. We'd have just like Magic Gathering going on in one bit. We'd have a bit of fan fiction going on somewhere else. We had 3 boys who just left, used to sit in the back corner and listen to Classic FM and play chess.
Oh, wow.
And every kid, it was just kind of like, we're all a bit of a nerd. We're all nerdy with different things. And it was just this really, really safe, fantastic space. And I'm so proud of that.
Yeah,
although,
absolutely.
When we became an MAT, the deputy head came to speak to me, and a lovely guy, could barely breathe for laughing. And he was like, "Sam, I need to have a word with you for a minute." And he said, "What?" He said, "Listen, like the board." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You need to change the name of the club." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "They don't want teachers to have cults." So then it was just like all this stuff. I was like, "Oh my God, right, what would I call it?" And he goes, "It can't be called Nerds, because apparently that's." I was like, "The kids named it. They designed their own logo and everything. We had badges." Like, we went to Comic-Con 2 years in a row as well. It was fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, what? I think it's so important what you're saying about having like a safe space. In my classroom, I always say, I also remind them, even if they're just like bickering, I'm like, no, this, I only want kindness in my classroom. And I think it's so important to sort of set that example. Say, we're only ever going to be kind.
Yeah, I do try. I have a big thing about respect. If someone's talking, we listen. If I'm talking, you be quiet and you listen. But I could be savage as sometimes, and I'm not always the nicest. Miss, my foot hurts. Well, you don't work with your foot, you're fine. Get your pen out. You're grand. Miss, my head hurts.
Yeah, I don't think that's not being nice. I think that is, being realistic and sort of, actually being fair and sort of, teaching them how to be.
Yeah, because I mean, there's other times when I'll be kind of like, come up to me, just go pick it. Aaliyah, are you okay? Do you need to go do a lap? Because are allowed to do laps now because they're all in bubbles. Look a bit upset. And it's kind of, do you need to go do a lap? Do you need to kind of go to the bathroom? Can you just give them a minute or two out the classroom?
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of know when they actually are doing it, or when it's just like, I can't be bothered to work today. And it's like,
yeah, definitely. Oh, Suzanne, we've had a lovely comment from David saying it sounds like you've built amazing relationships with Nerds Club. I've had another funny comment as well, saying, "I've been teaching as long as you've been alive, Alice." Being slightly less positive.
Oh yeah, I did. I loved the narrative. I mean, getting to bring the club to Comic-Con was fantastic. But we all I don't know how you are this, but cosplay is when you dress up as like the characters. So we'd all agreed to cosplay, myself and the students, and I was dressed as Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was meeting the students outside Comic-Con, and I had to meet some of the parents. It was like, oh god, I'm dressed like I'm green paint here, dressed like a space alien. Hi, nice to meet you. Yes, I am your child's maths teacher. But no, it was really nice because you kind of. It's hard sometimes because it can be a difficult line because when you see students in out of school or in a trip or in an after school club,
yeah,
you don't have those academic expectations also, so the lines can be a little bit more, but you're still trying to remain professional because I think for me it's quite easy because I'm 38. Don't want to say how old I am. And most of the students I teach Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 are the same age as their parents. So I just get put into that parent category quite naturally because I'm of an age of the parents, so I'm just put into a parental role or a caregiver role, and it's just I slot in quite easily. So it's not too bad for me. It's a bit easier. And then students talk, they say, and I've had them come, no, honestly, ask Miss, she's nice, she'll sound.
Yeah.
It goes the other way. I've had students who have absolutely hated me. And I had one that came up to me, I was really angry about it, and she's like, nobody will believe you're horrible. I know the truth. I know you're really evil. But everyone I go and complain to about you goes, oh no, not Mrs. Preston. She's so nice. Even my mum thinks you're nice. So that'd be a part of it. And then my colleagues as well. I'm one of those teachers that just wanders down the corridor talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Like when they walk in and out, I'm like, hi, have met you before and you knew. I'll just chat to anyone, like cleaners, caretakers. But as anybody, I don't like being unhappy, so I don't. But I also really, really believe in we get back what we give out.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, definitely.
100% believe in saying thank you to people, and I will say thank you to students. And if I pull them up, I'm like, I never, you don't hear me screaming at you. You don't hear me never saying thank you, but still kind of keeping that sort of level in the classroom. I had a really great tip my NQT year, and my head of department said to me, "Don't say please, say thank you." I was like, "What?" And she said, "When you ask students to do something, don't say please because it's making a request. You say, can you put the chairs down? Thank you." And she said it's still polite, but it's kind of assuming that compliance there. And it's such a great tip. I've always used it. But it's that kind of seeing that and saying I'm not asking you to do something I don't do. And we talked about the school rules. And I'm with you, like some of those rules are, I'm sort of just like, what difference does it make if a girl's wearing 2 earrings or 1?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm very much a sticker to the rules because at the end of the day, we've got rules as teachers. We've got ways in which we need to behave and dress and all of those sorts of things. So it's just about preparing the kids for, when they actually do go into a workplace environment. And that's what I say to them. So I'm very much a sticker for the rules.
See, I think if you say it to them and you're honest with you, I might go to exam times and be, look, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I could come in here and wear my pajamas. It doesn't affect my ability to teach maths. But I'm expected to dress in a professional way. And I'm expected to do this like outside school. Like outside school, I don't. And every summer when I get literally the first day after school ends, I go and I dye my hair like pink or purple or blue or green. And I dye it back at the end of summer. Like when I was on maternity leave, it's fantastic. I had like 4 different streak colored hair. But I don't wear like that for school. And I say it will affect my ability to do my job. But the job I have, it requires me to have natural colored hair. That's one of our math sort of rules. We have to have professional dress. We can't wear t-shirts. We can't wear stuff with slogans. So inset days, over the summer, I'm in there with like pink hair and my Star Wars nerdy t-shirts. Absolutely.
Do you think it's, I think it's important, isn't it, to actually show the pupils our personalities? And I do that, for example, on my desk, I've got a framed watercolour painting of Queen Elizabeth I. I've got a cushion of Henry VIII. I show them, how much I actually, love my subject, like we were talking about earlier. And I think, actually seeing our personalities definitely, maybe encourages them to, show us their personalities as well.
Yeah, because they feel it's about the whole feeling safe with you. Like, again, I completely agree with the boundaries. And I've said I'm a parent of 3 children. My eldest boy is 8 and he's ASD. So I've learned from parenting him, gone through his thing, just how SEN children really, really need to know what's happening and just how they respond so well to those clear definitions, those clear boundaries. But all not just SEN children, kind of all children. But I think as well as that in school, and I've taught these other things, there's so many things the students are told to do. They have very little control. And I think that can be we do have a little bit. Think about how frustrated we get as teachers when we're just given a directive and we're told we have to do this or do that. We get frustrated about it as well. But we still have a bit of autonomy in our own classrooms. But the students don't. Everything is just kind of dictated, and I can understand why they get frustrated sometimes, because they just feel that they've got no way to express that. Like, I don't get to express how I feel or how I look. I have to look the exact same way, and my books have to look the same way, and I have to walk in the corridor, and and some students do really well with that, and they just, they're lovely rule followers and they're fantastic, and then there's others that don't. So I did a presentation at Maths Conference earlier on this year about starters, about connects. And my students choose my starters. Well, I have the thing, and I kind of say, right, I'm kind of like, right, I'm really into this in a teaching learning group in school as well. So I will do things like, right, okay, what do we want to cover? So I have a last lesson, I have split to 4. And I'm like, what do you want me to put in there? What do you need more practice at? Or at the end of a lesson, okay, I think we've done all right. Do we need another lesson on this? What do you think?
Yeah.
Because you're the ones that need to know it. And I think just that little bit of a sort of a give back makes students so much less likely to push back. So I don't get much. I've stepped up into sort of a middle leader role now, which has been interesting. It's only recently during lockdown. But I've been at the school for quite a while, and it is kind of when I walk into a classroom, whichever student knows me goes, "Oh God, it's Mrs. Preston." Shh. So I can get to silent, which is I never thought I'd get to. My NQT year, I was like, "Oh good God, like it's never going to happen." But when the teacher walks in and the whole class gets silent, I'm like, oh. But I'm there.
That is my goal.
You'll get there once you're there a while. Once the students know that you're not going to leave. My year, when I first year in school, my year 9s tried. Oh my God, they tried. It was a game. The year before I came there, they had gone through 9 supply teachers.
Oh wow.
When I went to maternity leave, oh my gosh, they were awful. The class I had the year 10s. I used to teach them twice on a Tuesday. And when I went to maternity leave, there was a supply came in, taught them Tuesday morning, realised he had them again Tuesday afternoon, and just left. Was just like, nope. And they were just like awful. But then I came back off maternity leave, and it's like, you've came back and you're here. And I was like, yeah, listen, I'm going nowhere. Like, try your best, but please don't, please don't try your best to get rid of me. But I think once they do that and they settle in and they realize that, do you know what, you're there and you're consistent and you're reliable. Well, that's it, because I think kids want to trust. Majority of the kids we have, they want to trust.
They want to like you as well. They want to get along with you. They want to learn.
They do, and it's kind of like sometimes you're saying, and I've said this, like, we're on the same side here.
Absolutely,
we're on the same team. I want you to get a maths GCSE. You need a maths GCSE. Why are we arguing? Like, why is this a battle here? And they're kind of like, oh yeah, or I want what's best for you. So,
I think that's a form of sort of behaviour management in itself. I don't know how your sort of school deals with sort of disruption and such in sort of, in terms of punishment. But I'm in a Catholic school, and reconciliation is something that's so important for us.
We have moved recently to a same-day detention system, which is amazing. And I
Mhm.
always go down and have that restorative justice. And I actually go to
Yes.
detention. I go down to detention every day. And if a student, I'm like, what's going on? What you doing here? How come? What
Yeah.
happened? But I'll always go and have that conversation because it's so hard to do in a classroom. You're
Yes.
both kind of up here, and the kids like up here, and you're up here, and you're just and I also said, look, do you know what? I was wrong as well. I should have
Yes.
given you a chance, but you did
Yeah.
in front of a class, and I just got this, and I'm sorry, and I have apologized to students. And I think it's important to own that sometimes, like to say,
Definitely.
look, do you know what? I was wrong. I'm really sorry. You were
Yeah.
wrong as well. I was wrong. Let's put it behind us. Fresh start tomorrow. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think it's so important for them to, realize that, you are human and you might make mistakes occasionally.
Well, yeah, I think as well, like, I think always in the back of my mind is we're role models to these. So
We
some of these
are.
kids, I work as in a school Northwest. It's based up around Oldham. It's a hugely deprived area. There's kids that I am like the only stable figure they have, some of them,
Yeah.
or I am like the only positive female role model they might have, and it's
Yeah.
it's not responsibility I take lightly.
No, I don't think
So
it's something that we all should, think about, especially, talking about, how we are, positive female role models as well. When actually, if you look on Instagram, if you look on social media, there might not be a particular, many about, that they are actually exposed to and aware of.
no, so it's kind of having that dialogue, having it open. I said I've my year 11 form. I had all the way from year 8 up to year 11. And it was a bit of a game this year to see could they embarrass me, and it was like, no, I'm absolutely fine. And some of the questions I got asked were absolutely fantastic. Like one of the boys, it was absolutely a thing. Like recent examples, would I be devastated? Would I be offended and disgusted if one of my friends became a stripper? And I was like,
What?
I was like, why? And he went, using their body to make money. And I went, so does a personal trainer. And he just was like,
yeah,
well played, miss. I was like, what's the difference? And then he was like, foot stripping. And it was kind of like, if you're going in to watch someone strip, it's well advertised. It's not like you're walking into B&Q and someone just jumps out in the wallpaper aisle and just taking the clothes off. And you're like, I only came in here for wallpaper. What is this? I'm like,
I mean,
it's good to know where people go to. It's not immoral or wrong.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I feel like I would probably differ and probably just shut down that conversation with them and avoid that conversation and say, no, you're however old they are, we're not going to have this conversation.
No, no. I've taught biology, I've taught PE, I've taught sex ed, I've taught all these, so I just don't get phased, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, in a post-secondary classroom, there's definitely, scope for that conversation, but not so much in a history classroom.
Oh, no, well, this was informed during our PE lessons. We had a PE lesson recently about piercings, and they asked for genital piercings, and I was like, so, Harry, we know how the female reproduction, do we not? Okay, let's draw it, because I've got a biology degree, I'm qualified biology. In my head thinking, please don't someone from SLT walk by this classroom and see this very anatomically correct drawing of like the female genitals on the board.
Yeah.
But I'm just there pointing where you can get where you can get pierced if you want, and you can get piercing here or here. And he's just like, please stop this. I'm sorry.
So it's been so amazing to chat, and we'll continue our chat in a second, but I just need to play the news again for everyone. So we'll chat in a second again.
No problem.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Tom Hopkins-Burke.
This is Tom Hopkins-Burke with your weekend Teachers Talk Radio News. A Schools Week investigation has claimed that founding employees of Oak National Academy were in line to receive £41 million under their preferred proposal for the future of the online school. The proposal would have given Oak bosses 80% of shares into a private company before it was withdrawn, having been deemed unworkable. The document, Oak 3.0 Proposal, was submitted to the Reach Foundation, which runs Oak, by Oak's principal Matthew Hood OBE. In response to Schools Week's story, Hood tweeted that he insisted that every option that included employee ownership models explicitly excluded himself from them. The National Association of Head Teachers says that more school bubbles are self-isolating amid concerns over a new variant of COVID. Paul Whiteman, General Secretary of the NAHT, said that the union was picking up more reports of schools having to close multiple classes. Earlier this week, the government announced that 4,000 pupils missed school last Thursday, having tested positive for COVID-19. Furthermore, the number of students self-isolating following potential close contact with a positive case jumped from 65,000 on the 12th of May to 88,000 on the 20th of May. A petition calling for a teacher to be reinstated following his suspension for allegedly raising health and safety concerns has reached almost 1,000 signatures. Tom Mitchell, a teacher at Taverham High School in East Anglia, was suspended earlier this month following 16 years at the school. In November 2020, he was reported to have raised concerns to the school and his union about COVID health and safety measures not being followed, including ventilation and safety within bubbles. A spokesperson from the school said that the school had followed all public health guidance. That was your weekend education news with Tom Hopkinsburg.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hi, Alice. Sorry, blanked your name there.
We were having a chat earlier about how you think that actually creating a positive environment for staff massively sort of rubs off on the classroom as well. You know, how do you try to make a positive environment for the staff?
So a couple of things. Same way I am with, so kind of saying the same way I am with the students, I'd kind of be with staff. It's like, you're okay. I'm a massive believer in compliments, and I get really angry when people argue with my compliments, and I have shouted at our head teacher about it before. I'm like, if I tell you look nice, you look nice. Don't tell me you don't. Don't give me 3 reasons why you look awful today. Just say thank you and go on. So, you know, I will compliment people, you know, oh my God, I love your shoes. Have you had this done? And I notice things like that. I don't like venting. I don't like the whole thing with, oh my God, I've had the worst lesson. I hate this kid and I hate it. And I'm like, I can't, it's just negative. I don't want to listen to that. So I try not to do that.
I mean, yeah, but I think there is always a place for, you know, teachers being able to feel like they can have a chat with other teachers. For example, you know, I'm a newly qualified teacher, and if I've had a bad lesson, but actually talking to a you know, more experienced teacher can be incredibly, you know, positive for me.
But if that's done in a reflective way, it's a powerful way of doing it. Absolutely. And like I'm mentored this year, and it is like what happened. Like, I've had those lessons. Oh my God, it was awful. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. But it's those teachers, and they're in every staff room, and the ones that sit in the corner and they don't have a positive thing to say about anything. And that's what I try to not be like. I try not to be around that sort of
I mean, like, having a positive, you know, environment and choosing to have a positive outlook, I think definitely is incredibly important in teaching, because it isn't, you know, the easiest career. It is tough.
No,
but, you know, if you focus on the positive things, then, you know, that's all you can do, really.
I'm saying thank you to people, recognizing, and like we had one of the admin team help me with inputting QLAs. And she did like the whole of year 10. So I just got her a little thank you card and a little bag of mixed chocolate, and just left it on her desk with, you honestly saved me so much time at work this week. Thank you. That was one.
My classroom cleaner is an absolute gem. She is incredible. She's called Cindy, and she obviously comes in, cleans my classroom every day. We have a little chat, you know, really positive chat. It's something I look forward to every day. I told her before that I'd never had bread and butter pudding. The next day, she'd obviously went home and baked some. She brought me some in. One day my ceramic sort of stapler broke, and it was this sort of crazy like unicorn sort of mermaidy princess thing, which it's just a ridiculous stapler. But I was very fond of it. And she noticed it broken in the bin, and she took it home. She took it out of the bin. She took it home, and she glued it back together for me. And it's just that kindness, isn't it, that keeps you going?
Yeah. It's so nice. That sounds lovely. All our stationery is like the Academy colours. Honestly, we have like all our classrooms are identical, and they're all with the branding. And all our stationeries are the same sort of colours. So I would love to have a mermaid stapler. Sounds fantastic. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I'd have one like the Death Star or something. But mermaid sounds cool.
Oh, I think somebody's trying to call in. I'm not too sure who it is. Let us know in the chat if you want to call in and have a chat with us. Something I want to talk about as well is, do you think that there is a place for mobile phones in school? Let us know in the chat what you think, everyone.
I could talk about this as well. You said about staff. I think that acknowledging that, recognizing that, never, just saying thank you is such a thing. Like, as I took over their research night, so for the team there, we did little bags for half terms. It's been a horrendous half term for everybody with like all the central test grades and everything. So I made up little gift bags with like little bottles of champagne and little
lovely
little gin and tonics or vodkas and all this. So I went to B&M to buy all this because myself and the head of department and the other sec had funded this between us. So I was there with about like 20 different bits of alcohol. So I made up 10 bags. And I'd say about 45 packets of chocolate. And the guy at the checkout was like, "Are you okay?" Like, it's not all for me. This isn't like, I haven't had the worst Monday ever. It's not all for me. But this just really concerned guy with every bit of alcohol he scanned through just looked at me. And like, I'd say about 40 or 50 bars of chocolate. But yeah, just made up little cards. Little bags and cards.
Yeah, that recognition definitely is so important. We also have Fiona Salt on the line.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. What do you want to chat about? Do you have an opinion on positive classrooms or mobile phones?
Positive classrooms, I think, probably, although maybe mobile phones come into that at the same time. I just think it's really interesting listening to you guys being fairly new teachers in comparison to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I say that I've been teaching as long as you've been alive, and this kind of, the idea that maybe we become a bit jaded as we get longer into the profession. And I just kind of maybe want to reassure people that doesn't always happen, that we're not just the kind of the grouches that sit in the corner of the classroom and are quite miserable about teaching, that positivity can still be there.
Yeah, my the SLT at my school are absolutely brilliant, and especially the NQT mentor. She's incredible. She's been a teacher for a long time, and they're sort of the most positive people that I can actually speak to, because they've got so much experience. They're so encouraging to me. So I think definitely having positive role models for the younger teachers, for the less experienced teachers within the school of the more experienced teachers is so important, actually.
I think we can learn from one another, can't we? I think you guys coming into the profession, I think we need to protect you and kind of or equally we can learn from you guys. It does need to be that, and I think that's part of letting people know that they're appreciated. I think it's sad to hear that people sometimes feel when they join schools that they find the environments perhaps a little bit toxic. And I think sometimes perhaps older teachers or teachers who are more established and have been in a place a long time forget what it's like to start somewhere new, and get so caught up in their own work. And I try really hard not to do that as a kind of head of department. I do think it's really important to say thank you, to recognise somebody and to just wish them a good morning, ask about their day. And even if that results in them complaining, that's all right. We all need a sounding board, I think, don't we?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'd say definitely from the perspective of being a newly qualified teacher, like this year, it's been so tough. We finished our PGCEs in about March. Oh, sorry, I can hear a bit of a sort of reflection back. Have we all got headphones in?
I haven't, unfortunately. Is it me?
Oh, it might be, but no worries at all. So in terms of what was I even saying now? Yeah, no, especially as like a new teacher, like I finished my PGC sort of in March, so I went from having about like a 50% timetable to having a, you know, 90% timetable, and you know, it was really, really tough. And I think that people that obviously, you know, even experienced teachers who did their MQT like 3-4 years ago, they would have had a totally different experience to me. You know, it would have been hard for them, but I generally believe it's probably been the hardest that it can be for an MQT right now, because of the experience, you know, and situation we've been put in. So I think it's so important for people to emphasize and actually understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah. My niece has just qualified this year as well, so I know where you're coming from with that. You know,
yeah.
It's so difficult. You've done so much on Teams and Zoom, and that's been hard for you to build relationships in your classroom and with, you know, other members of staff when you've been at home half the year. That does make things more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And just learning stuff as well. So for example, you know, I'd never learned how to put data on. I hadn't even learned properly how to mark GCSE assessments. You know, I'd never obviously taught a full timetable. I'd never been by myself in a classroom. I'd never been the only sole teacher in the classroom, like up until March. So there was a lot to learn.
Yeah, there is. But, you know, it sounds like you know, you've got a really good communication skill. We can see that from the way that you're communicating this evening. So I'm sure you're going to be a real asset to the department that you're in.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I do absolutely love teaching. And I think, you know, what myself and Suzanne were saying, that, you know, when teachers generally, you know, love teaching and being in the classroom, it has such a positive impact on the pupils.
Yeah. I genuinely think that's the biggest thing you can do. You know, you can listen to them, and obviously we can take their problems seriously, all of those kind of things. But the thing that you need to engender, the thing that you need to kind of build confidence and build a safe space is the fact that they walk into your classroom and know that you care about your subject, you care about them. And that's where you build those relationships. They know what they're going to get then. And boundaries are important, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think boundaries are so important.
We all need them. I mean, I personally couldn't work with not knowing what was okay, what was okay. Like, it's just nice knowing where the line is, even as an adult, a professional. It's nice to know how far you can go, where you can push, what's okay in your classroom, what isn't, what's okay with a student, what isn't. We all work with them. And I think with that, the students, it's that, as you say, that sort of, they know what to expect. You know, you're going to be there. They know you're reliable, they're consistent. But that you're not expected, I'm obviously not expected to be perfect. Or I think a big one as well is if you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just, oh well, it's right. I made a mistake. You're absolutely right. Thanks for pointing it out to me. 2 times 3 isn't 7. It is 6. Let's fix it, you know, and let's just fix it. It's not a big deal. But I was kind of thinking about what we said.
And they do love to point that out to me. They'll be like, Miss, do you know that you've... I'm like, oh my God. Thank you for that.
You know what? You're trying to get away with it. Well done for catching my deliberate mistake that I didn't know I just made.
And you know what? I'm dyslexic, so occasionally I might occasionally, you know, have a wrong spelling, or well, to be honest, no, my spelling is pretty good, but my writing, because I've got dyspraxia as well, occasionally on my whiteboard might not be amazing. So, you know, it's all about, you know, actually owning it and being like, yeah, you know what, I am human. Like, if I do make a wrong spelling mistake, you're going to make a wrong spelling mistake, you know, even when you're perfect at spelling. So it is just about owning it, really, isn't it? And showing them, you know, we are human beings.
I think that's not even owning it. I think that's a fantastic teaching moment and an inspirational one. Like, look, I'm dyslexic. I'm dyspraxic. It hasn't stopped me achieving this.
Yes. Yeah.
Why are you letting a barrier stop you? Don't. You know, barriers don't stop you. I wouldn't be thinking about that as a negative at all.
I'm very, very, you know, open with actually my pupils about, you know, the journey that I had. The fact, you know, you're a maths teacher, aren't you? And I had to resit my maths GCSE 4 times, but I've got 2 degrees now.
Yeah,
I did as well.
No, and you know what?
I passed. Phew. I had to retake it in uni. I had to retake third year maths in uni because it was horrific. I remember walking out of a classroom in tears when our instructor went, now we're going to start advanced calculus. And I was like, you mean what I was doing was basic? And I left. I was done. But I did go back and I retook it. I had to resit advanced calculus. But that was it.
Yeah, you know what? It's about owning those things and saying, I've got my strengths, but I've also got my weaknesses, like everyone does.
Yeah. I said just that whole barriers we do self-impose them, and they shouldn't prevent us from doing things. I mean, I'm not sure how obvious it is, but I'm very conscious, and I could hear it every time I talk, that I have a very slight speech impediment and a lisp. And when I was a kid and a teenager, I never would have spoke for a living, ever. But I'm here on a radio now, and I've presented. I've done
You're
this.
smashing it.
Thank you. It helps over here the accent. You guys just hear the accent first. It's brilliant.
Yeah, you know what? I think it is all about, building confidence in our young people as well, because the teacher that I remember most when I was at school was my old head teacher, and I wasn't very good at maths, like I've already said in the show. And he would actually tutor me once a week in maths, and then he ended up taking a maths class in year 11 for those of us that were just below the pass mark. So there was about 10 of us, and I remember him the most because I always just used to say, I can't do this, I can't get my maths GCSE, I can't do maths. And he would always say, there's no such word as can't, you can. And actually to hear that had a massive sort of impact on me and gave me so much more confidence, because I wasn't diagnosed with my dyslexia until my second year of A-levels. So I just thought I wasn't as bright. I just thought I wasn't as capable as others.
You see, I think that positive mindset, and I will say, I don't accept I can't do it yet. I can't do it on my own. I can't do it without help. Let's rephrase that.
Yeah.
You can't do it. What do you need? Do you need more time? Do you need to explain it a different way? Do you need help? What do you need to get you to do this? Because you can do it, but you can't do it yet. And that is kind of a big one. I'm like, I don't accept can't. But you don't want to be that sort of, if it's, but it's like, you can do it, but what you've got available right now, you're not getting there with. So what do we need to do to help you get there? And make it a we. What do we need to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say that. What you need to tell me what you need, and I then need to provide it because I'm the teacher. So it's my job to educate you. But it's like students are just lovely. I love my students. So they're so lovely. Like, thank you. They say thank you to teaching me. Like, literally doing my job. Literally what I get paid for. But it's so nice that you say thank you to me. But this is kind of saying, go back to all the really awful stories I said earlier. Sorry about that. But this is kind of saying these ones with my students trying to embarrass me. But they will ask me, and my one is, I'd rather they hear it from me and they get the right information, because God knows some of the things they thought were just scary.
Yeah,
they ask me
definitely
and they get the right information.
Yeah, definitely in a such an environment.
It's a huge thing when a student will come and ask you a question about like sexuality or about gender or about things, because it really shows a huge amount of trust.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as teachers as well, it is obviously something that is so important that we get right. And especially, because as teachers, we can't necessarily sort of share opinions. That has to be completely sort of facts, and we can't really share as much of our experiences. So I think, do you think we need to have more, emphasis and more PSHE lessons?
I think it's okay to share an opinion as long as you make it very clear. This is just what I think. Feel free to disagree. I'm open to a debate on this. I'm not saying I'm right. This is how I think, and this might be why. Because I will say, you might have as well working in a faith school, but me growing up in Ireland, where contraception wasn't a thing, where divorce wasn't a thing, I would have grown up with some different ideas, and obviously they've changed. This day and age, very different. But when I grew up, I'd have a very traditional viewpoint towards marriage and children outside marriage. Now, I don't judge anybody for not doing, because it's not my place to judge, and I'll say this. But I'll just say, me personally, I didn't feel comfortable. I waited until I got married to have children, because that was my choice. That's what I felt comfortable. But that was me. And it'll just be whatever you feel, what's right for you, because I don't have a right to judge anybody else. It's not up to me. I don't know you. I'm not you.
Yeah.
It's your life. It's your choice. So,
I mean, I personally, choose not to actually, share my sort of opinions, because, as teachers, sometimes our pupils can massively, put us on a pedestal, and, actually, our opinion might actually mean a lot to them. So, you know,
Yeah.
I prefer to just, you know, let them, you know, sort of work it out for themselves and, you know, make their own judgments.
It's something that, as I've kind of taught for longer, as I've gotten a bit older, I do feel more comfortable. When I started off, no, because I was very,
Yeah.
oh God, what if I say the wrong thing or this? But
Mm.
as I've gotten older, and there are conversations when I'm just like, that's not relevant. You don't need to know how I feel about that. That's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Thinking I can't stop it. But if it's something like, how do you know if you're how do you know if you're gay? How do you know if
Yeah,
this? How do you know if it's a
yeah.
toxic
It's all about,
relationship?
yeah, context.
Or question, or these peachy questions that you get asked that can be difficult, but they want to know, and they kind of want to know answers, and they're looking to you to give them those answers. I'm like, well, yeah, sometimes, and I have sort of said, you know what, I don't know, I'll Google it. You know, I have said, I don't know, let me look it up for you, or do you know what, that's a
Yeah.
tough question. I'm going to ask somebody else, and I'll get back to you tomorrow about that.
Yeah,
Which I think it's okay to say as well, as long as you do get back.
Yeah, for example, in history, you know, I don't know that, you know, who wrote the first ever book, or, you know, loads of things in history. I don't know, because history is just massive. So, you know, I do occasionally say to them, you know, I'm not Google, I don't have all of the information in my brain, but I will consult with Google and we'll find out.
Yeah. And I said, this is that, like, that goes back to that. I think with the students, that there's more to you, sort of, that they can relate to you as a person and not just as an educator.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But it is what you're comfortable with. And I said, I'm quite comfortable with the questions. It doesn't bother me. I said, I don't get embarrassed. I don't get phased.
Yeah.
I've got some family members that are LGBTQ plus. I'm involved with, you know, I've got a child who's ASD, so I feel that I'm okay to talk about those topics.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got a biology degree, so I'm okay to talk about things about the body and pregnancy and stuff like that. But I mean, if they were to ask about, like, I mean, some of the questions they ask you about, like about gender neutral or gender fluid, I'm like, I really struggle with that, because I can explain it, but I can't explain how to feel, because I don't identify as anything that's not, you know, I identify as cisgender, so I don't know how to explain to somebody who feels gender fluid, but I'm just open about that.
And you know what? I think it's so important as professionals that we do get it right. So that is why I probably would shift it on to somebody that is actually properly educated and can, you know, actually properly support them and give them, you know, the sort of information that they need. So thank you so much for everyone for chatting with me tonight. I hope that everyone can have a really restful and enjoyable half term. Thank you so much for tuning in. So that was the Late Show with Alice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.